And boom, in 1080p live, it's me, Simon. It's 10:30 p.m. Japan Standard Time, 10:31 actually. Good to see you all. Just when I started the stream, it asked me, did I want to stream in 1080p or 720p? And I'm like, why would anyone pick 720p to stream in? Of course, I want higher resolution. So I just threw that in. Wow, great to see so many people already in the chat. We've got 10 current viewers, 3 likes. Remember, this is all that I'm doing that in. Please remember, do like. It's a nice way of showing support for the stream, showing up every week. Interesting week. I went to America this week. So that was a thing. I actually got some new kit to help with the live stream after the after party. I must admit, I'm probably more focused on that just since this is pretty much all set up the way that I want. But yeah, I got this thing, which I will be hooking up and playing in the after party. But I got the Magic Pad and the new iPad Pro. So enjoying that. And I also got this so I can type the song suggestions faster. It works with the computer. I really do like my Microsoft Art keyboard that I've been using for ages. But this one actually allows me to switch between the computer and Bluetooth. It lets me type on my iPhone or my iPad. So it should just make everything. And I do love the form factor. I've been trying this out. I was playing Fortnite with it. It's fast, it's responsive, it's really small, and it feels really good. And I can switch easily between my devices. So as well as I've got the Magic Pad on that, I want to lay the iPad flat so that I can show it on the overhead camera. So I'm going to use this keyboard with that. So yeah, new toys and stuff like that, but pretty cool. And so yeah, tonight, first time I'm going to be doing, in fact, I haven't actually done a proper mix yet on the new iPad. So that'll be a lot of fun. See who's in the comments. One thing I've been thinking, I think about little things about what I can do to improve the stream. And I think I'm going to try as much as possible to highlight every comment and go through every comment. But I'll stop on the ones that I want to stop on. But I want to include people. It's harder on the mixing live stream, of course. But from there we go. So let's do this that way. We've got Dan H. already in at 10:11 p.m. Good to see you throwing in your squirrel straight away. Did I hear that interview that Kokusai Electric CEO did? We had no idea exactly what private equity was about to begin with. We had a vague idea, whereas we are manufacturers. All they do is just move something from left to right and make money. I've been out this week, so although I don't know if I would have noticed this anyway. This doesn't surprise me. There was a survey I remember about 10 years ago where when there were these activist investment funds like Elliott and a few others that were buying shares and demanding that they improve their governance and pay out better dividends, which was sort of seen to Japanese as being, foreign, dodgy investors trying to take over Japanese companies, which is how Japanese companies saw it, who tried to mitigate the control of shareholders, of course, by buying shares. Companies would hold shares in other companies that they were friendly with in order to control the shareholders meeting. That and there was a kind of a Yakuza ploy that they would threaten to make trouble at the shareholders meetings, bringing lots of resolutions and so on. And that as a way of getting paid off by companies to not show up or to not attend. So there was that. One, first of all, companies never believed that shareholders are supposed to have any rights in companies. And second, around this time when Elliott was starting to put a lot of pressure on Japanese companies to disclose more and be more accountable, I remember NHK did a survey on who owns companies, the tenet of capitalism. Who owns companies? The shareholders, the source of capital for the company. That's what capitalism says. However, Japan, showing that it's not really a capitalist country, at least in terms of mindset, something like 80% of respondents, a very high percentage of people believe the workers of the company own the company, not the customers, not the boss of the company, not the shareholders, the workers. And this is just common sense in Japan. And it's surprising to many to be told that shareholders own companies. So for CEOs as well to have that attitude that, I kind of get it from the perspective. Another thing I respect about Japan, this is a big squirrel. We're already into the squirrels. It's like a third comment. But no, Dan H always has great squirrels to chase. Love your squirrels, Dan H. One thing when I was a consultant, an IT consultant, originally for Mitsubishi Materials Silicon and later for Bridgestone, the good and frustrating thing is one reason that IT system implementation takes so long in Japan compared to America or Europe is that in America and Europe, companies' senior management that make decisions about these IT systems often are people who joined as senior management. They got an MBA and were hired to be a manager, to manage accounting and manage HR spreadsheets and stuff like that. And there's a separation between the engineers and the blue collars and the white collars. In Japanese companies, the engineers become the blue collars. And in fact, there's the idea of becoming a senior executive at a manufacturing company, like an electronics, manufacturing company. The idea that a pure MBA with no production line experience, they would get destroyed. And so as a result, you're dealing with basically senior engineers, which is kind of good. But on the other hand, when you have people who are invested in trying to minimize the burden on junior workers and so on, and not reforming the company, you've got people who have to sign off on everything, who know every little cog works in the company. I mean, Japanese car companies are a great example of this. The senior leadership knows everything about the cars that they're manufacturing, including how to make them. Very different to US companies. But at the same time, it means that when you're trying to persuade them to sign off on a sheet which changes the business process, they won't do it, which is why it takes so long in Japan. So yeah, this lack of respect for foreign capital and investors and so on makes complete sense from the perspective of, I assume that the Kokusai Electric CEO there probably has nothing to do with private equity, because he actually did a job for a living. He actually made the stuff. I would be my bet. This could be one of the main reasons why there's a lack of M&A happening with fire sale prices, even with the legal firms ramping up hiring. I'm not seeing, you're right. I must admit, I haven't really talked to my friends in my old law firm and asking about this. I used to work in one of the main law firms that would do cross-border M&A. Back when I was doing it, they were doing outbound. It was Japanese companies with their piles of cash in reserve doing this abroad. Certainly there are investments in M&A happening, but not on the scale that I would be expecting. And you're right. I mean, certainly there is a hesitancy. Japanese companies are not looking to be bought out, especially by foreign companies. And as bad as things are, they don't necessarily need investments to survive. So I think there's also just a conservatism that's kind of tough to take over Japanese companies, particularly where they're not up for it. But you're right. I don't know why that's happening. So Dan H indeed. I'm gonna quickly speed through the comments, because I was planning just to say hello, but we have an excellent squirrel right there. At 10:12, we are waiting for Echo for Sadiq Hakan Gurus, our man from Florida. Good to have you in here. From Germany, Kubos Tenchi, 23 more Japanese words made it officially into the Oxford English Dictionary. And unfortunately, I'm almost certain that one of those was bukkake, but what can you do? It's popular and it's being taken into English. Believe in yourself, saying hello to everybody indeed. Let's keep going through. We've got more Cobras, Tenshi, tonkatsu sauce, yakiniku. Well, those are much better. Oh, food. Okay, well, that kind of makes sense. English always needs more words to learn how to mispronounce and mangle and adapt, and then tell people that they're saying it wrong. It's part of our tradition. It's part of our culture that we do that. So, look out what you wish for. But there again, in fact, these are the words. Isekai. Isekai made it. Wow. No, otherworldly. Kagome. Kagome? That's like a brand. It's like vegetable juice. Kagome? What's kagome in English? I don't know. Tonkotsu, of course, a type of ramen. Donburi, katsu, karage, kirigami. Okonomiyaki, shibori, katsu kare, kintsugi. Kintsugi made it. Wow. That's interesting. Onigiri, tokusatsu, washi tape, takoyaki, omotenashi. Okay. Good. I was afraid. Times have become more sophisticated, possibly than me. That's what that shows. Cobra Senshi, this happened a few months ago. I think this is a huge jump in Japanese population within the UK. Plus I think just the huge number of tourists coming here. Japanese, just getting into Japanese culture. Everybody I met in America. I used to go to Australia or New Zealand or America. I'd tell people I'm living in Japan, and they'd be like, why? It was like a weird thing. It was like knowing that Japan was cool was like an in thing that only a few people sort of knew. Whereas now you go to America, it's like, oh, I was just there, or oh, I'm going there next month, and and they not only say that they love it superficially, but they'll say, oh, I love One Piece, and I cook sushi every day, and all sorts of other stuff. Like people are like doing stuff. So I kind of like, okay, everybody. I would always hear that and say, oh, so now you know, right? 25 years ago, it was kind of exclusive to know that Japan was cool. And frankly, if we're being honest, probably a lot of people who came to Japan when I came here didn't want other people to find out. It was like having a secret beach, a good surf spot that, you don't want others to come and crowd it out and ruin it, which is well and truly what's happening in a way. But I wouldn't say that they're ruining it. I'd say actually that it's actually improving things. I mean, it's actually amazing how much more accessible Japan has become. But there you go. That's another factor. Although, of course, yes, Japanese moving over. And how with the food scene, I mean, it doesn't make sense for Japanese to make, to work in restaurants when they can go earn multiple times by working in USA or London. Indeed, another news story I didn't cover in here is that a lot of Japanese sex workers are going to Korea and overseas because they get much more than they get in Japan, which has left the online Japanese forum guys worried. But supply and demand, fellas. What can you do? Michael Gillen Peckett, good to see you. Good evening. Good evening, Lara. Glad that you could make it. Who else we've got here? We've got people saying hello to each other. Hey, Moi, we've got our man from Finland. Yoni, good to have you in the chat. Nordic representative to keep things nice and woke Nordics, is that? I guess it's the days are getting longer there, so hard to sleep. Quint Rankin, good to see you. Good to have another American representative in here. We've got Rainbow. Oi, indeed. Tadum. Good to see you, Tadum. Good to have you in the chat. Let's catch up for lunch this week. I'll get back to you. Message me if I forget. But I'm back at work this week. I'm back in Japan. So, yeah, good to see you in the chat. We've got Saint Sir. In 9:30 in the morning here in NYC. Good morning, Saint Sir. Good of you to join. Eric Bailey, right on time, 10:30. Glad that you can let me start now. That's right. Foods can be inspiring. They can be. Is it on? It's definitely on. I think I just started. So there we go. I hope it is. It'd be kind of embarrassing if I'd been talking this whole time and everyone's going, let it go, the sound is off. I should actually check occasionally if that's all working. Ty Nakamura, a man from Flint, Michigan, I believe. Good to have you in the chat. Yeah, great to see you, man. Boom, indeed. We've got Peanuts being thrown in here. Peanuts, likes, 10 likes, 17 viewers. I'll work harder for those extra 7 likes, but I do appreciate them, so do remember to get those in. Thank you very much. We've got Aaron, our moderator, is in the chat from Indiana. I'm afraid, because I don't think I've said that out loud before, but I think when I do say it, I always get it wrong like the first couple of times. Good to see you, of course. Moderator with the little wrench mark beside. Good to have you in here. Microphone a tad echoing. Oh, really? That's disturbing. Why is it echoing? Is it me, or is that it, because this is the only mic that's plugged in at the moment? So is it really echoing? People tell me right now. Leave a comment right now if they're hearing an echo. I suspect that this might be Yoni. I hope that's the case. Let me just double check. What mic am I using? Oh, I selected the good mic. It's right. It's selected the webcam mic. So I am going to change that. Okay, this should be better quality now. So thank you for that, Yoni. Boom. That should be, anyway, it should be better quality. It shouldn't have been echoing, but I was using the mic in the camera, whereas now I've got the nice fancy microphone. I don't have the Shure. I've had my eye on the Shure M2, and I'm probably going to get it one day. But actually, the Yeti's, that's a good mic over here. So there we go. Believe in yourself. Yeah, that's a surefire way to get me panicking. I can't even tell what that is, Aaron, but what are those? There's a little... It's a string? Who knows? Sadiq, good to have you in here. Is squirrel the new bear or man meme? I have no idea. Dan H, you bought a few of the teenage engineering music gear. Wow, those are fancy and expensive and very cool looking. Really fun to pay with but little price and quite aesthetically pleasing. Yeah, the new calculator looking one looks really cool. I've always liked the, what do they call it? The OP1, the sort of keyboard. In fact, Yuri Wong, I suspect you already know about Yuri Wong. He makes videos, awesome videos, where he sort of edits down showing, but he makes awesome tracks, basically sampling and playing tracks, and he makes pretty cool quality pop tracks, which makes everyone want to go buy an OP1. Lately, he's got the new, what is it, the OP3 or whatever, which is also cool watching. It's quite inspiring. So if you've paid for all that kit, you should go watch Yuri Wong, Yuriwong. It's a great channel. Yeah, that's some really cool kit there. Got people saying hello. Did people smash the like button? Glad to see that they're doing that. Kokusai Electric might get bought out in 2017 from Hitachi. from KKR Equity. So he talking more what they had to learn. Oh, I see. So yeah, that's not surprising though. Often a lot of these companies are founded by the, and are led by the engineers that started out in them. Crow, good to see you, Crow. Good to have you in the chat. Japan is cool. When you know, you know. That's the way that I always thought it. Yoni is confessing that you ruined Japan. No, it wasn't you. It's actually, honestly, Japan's not getting ruined. From the outside perspective, it's getting better. To the extent it's declining, I think we all know about that. Some of us were still being breastfed 25 years ago, so we didn't know it was cool. You should have known. Well, I mean, seriously. Well, the point is, I think everyone who's getting breastfed 25 years ago seems to have figured it out at that point, because everybody seems to have picked up really early that's how it is, how it was going. Almost time to jump into the topics, but quickly catch up. Mike, yeah, room acoustics, I did so. And that is because, again, it's the inbuilt webcam mic, which is up beside the wall. So, that is good to hear. With OBS, it was always possible. I had 3 mics on at the same time, and then you get real echoing. But there you go. Aaron is monitoring closely. You're doing a great job evading Russian bots, and the US government have not entered the chat. I don't know which I'm more afraid of, or at times I can't tell what the difference is lately. So there we go. Yeah, especially the Azerbaijanis. I don't know. They seem to be in everything nowadays. I don't know. They came up because I saw on Philip DeFranco's summary of the civil disturbances in New Caledonia that someone was blaming Azerbaijan for that. I don't understand. What that's about. But there you go. Yes, yeah, Aaron. It's one of those things. That's right. Success is proven by the lack of anything happening. But I think we should give Aaron credit for all of that happening. So thank you for that. None of the sex bots. Hopefully none of the sex bots coming in anytime soon. Yes, indeed. At least not without permission. 19 concurrent viewers, 11 likes. With that, I'm going to jump into the topics. I've just got a few. I really had to rapidly catch up on topics sort of yesterday and today. So I don't think that much, but those are famous last words. Let's jump in. So as I already said, I got this fancy keyboard and the iPad and everything. I quite like this. I've had my eye on this for years. It's just I really love my other keyboard, which I've had for like 20 years actually, and it's still awesome. The rubber is literally flaking and falling off, and I put masking tape over it because, again, I just love the old keyboard so much. But I finally bit the bullet, and I'm glad I did. This is actually a really great keyboard. So nice to get some new tech. I wish I was getting sponsored or commissioned for promoting this stuff, but no, it's just genuinely good stuff. And I pay a lot of attention to keyboards. I get them custom made and stuff like that. So getting a cool little, ultra thin portable Bluetooth one, I actually took a lot of times deciding that. You still want those keypads on your keyboard. The keypad. Oh, you mean on the 10 keypad. So for that, yes, I've got my custom build. This has all the keys, and I designed the layout and everything. This is custom built for me by some nice people in China, and I love this keyboard as well. This is a Vamillo. Wonder if it'll show up if I flip it around. Gotta get the right angle. Vamillo. But yeah, that is my build that has the 10 key. But so I've got that in arm's reach if I need it. But I just use this for the quick day-to-day stuff. So yeah, I've got both. That's what I do. And yes, it is swish and fancy. Thank you for noticing. There's a town, Corfu. I think it's Corfu. Corfu's like, I know it as being like at the end of the Yamanote line, or not the Chuo line. The Chuo line. Middle of nowhere, basically. But Ome Corfu sort of is out there. But it's near Mount Fuji. I think it's in Yamanashi. And I did not know this, but apparently in like 50 years ago, 2 kids said that they saw a UFO land and they met an alien from it. And apparently it's one of 3 sites in Japan considered to be Kofu. Here we go. Yamanashi Prefecture. Okay, I was correct about that. But yeah, the 50th anniversary. The next year marks the anniversary. So 1975, apparently, 2 elementary school children claim to have encountered flying objects and an alien. It's dubbed one of 3 major UFO incidents reported in Japan. So they want to be the new Roswell, apparently. This is not an actual photo of the incident. This is not what they look like. Well, maybe it is. I mean, seriously, some people believe anything. Honestly, I can't think of any other reason really to go there. I mean, now that town is covering up the Mount Fuji with a huge banner because the tourists were annoying, Maybe aliens, or for a town nearby. Maybe they get too popular, they'll make them stand behind like a partition or something like that. But there you go. Yeah, Herman Miller, baby, check it out. I went and got that secondhand. It's the best buy. I tell you, the most important things that you buy are the things that you use all the time. And I learned during the pandemic when I was sitting on a $50 big camera office chair that you don't want to save money on your ass. Very important that Herman Miller, which I got. This is like a $2,500 chair that I got for $600 secondhand. It's 20 years old when I got it. It still is beautiful. It's one of the best purchases I've ever done. Got me through 3 years of working at home. But yes, Aaron, see, look at what you've done now. You've got me talking about office chairs and custom keyboards. But yeah, keyboard by Van Miller. This one's by Logitech. This is by Herman Miller. It's very fancy. Thank you for asking. Crow, indeed. You love a good keyboard. It's why you missed the BlackBerry Bold, which had a physical keypad. When I was on the plane going to America, I watched the BlackBerry movie. It was really good. I really enjoyed it, actually. It's an interesting story about just the Canadian company and how they put it together and how it all sort of fell apart. And I was like that. I was at a company where they gave us BlackBerries, and when the iPhone came out, I was like, how are you supposed to type on a screen? I like the idea, but I was like, how is that going to work? But it worked, although I still find it hard to do. So yeah, all the space program. Yes, you are absolutely right. Olme is still Tokyo. Yeah, Olme is well called out, Kuros Tenshi. Kofu is a little bit beyond that, so there you go. Isn't funk the final frontier, says 3 old dudes. Funk is always the final frontier. That's right. Went to Herman Miller showroom inspired by me. Oh, I don't think the showroom was inspired by me, just to be clear. I think I might have told Yoni about how great Herman Miller chairs are, and they really are. Your ass is important. Take care of it. Free advice. Next story. So yeah, Japan just passed a bill. So it's almost gone into law. In fact, I've got there's 2 big laws that have passed this week. The first one is this one, which is a new raft of immigration-related laws, generally expanding the categories of foreigners that can come to Japan and how they can work, and opening the country gradually more and more to immigration without saying immigration. They frame it in terms of worker shortages and stuff like that. However, within that, they've also added new penalties that permanent residents found guilty of not paying taxes can have their permanent residency status revoked. A lot of people on Twitter, I think some people just want to start fights. So whenever I share this, they say, "Oh, if you don't pay taxes, you deserve to be. I think all foreigners should be deported," and all this sort of crazy stuff. I'm like, if people miss the filing date because out of ignorance, or if they underpay, or they something like that, there are all sorts of inadvertent ways that you can underpay and be penalized on taxes, as opposed to outright malicious, deliberately taking steps to hide tax. I mean, I suppose there's a lot of people who work for cash. I think about all the people who do English teaching and side jobs and stuff like that. And it could be that you pay a lot of taxes and you don't pay some of it and you weren't sure how to deal with the tax. But there's all sorts of situations I can imagine where you would be guilty of not paying taxes appropriately, but where it would be completely disproportionate to revoke your ability to live in the country. Apparently USA does this, but America's kind of crazy about taxes. They tax you anywhere in the world, even if you've left America and you're paying taxes in that other country. So America's kind of ruthless. Japan's not really like that. But obviously, with a declining population, collecting tax is super important. So they are putting this in, which has a lot of foreigners sort of spooked. So the government's taking extra pains, I think I said this last week, to say that it will only be really malicious. It'd be really serious prison time level type tax avoidance would actually trigger revocation of your permanent resident status. You can lose permanent resident status for a whole bunch of crimes, as you should. I mean, but at the same time, you shouldn't lose permanent residency status for speeding, which is a strict liability crime. It's considered one of the lowest levels of crime. Doesn't even need the intent to speed in order to get a ticket, but it's a crime. But they don't deport people for that. It's not like any crime. It should be proportional. And when you're a permanent resident, I mean, you remember, in addition to deportation, which is a huge hammer to hit people with, you are also facing the other penalties as well. So it has to be proportionate, but Yeah, I think it sounds like they're trying to frame it as reasonable. Which, if they implement it the way that they're saying, which I'm working with the Japanese legal system, I do actually trust that they will. But I do worry that without like getting that clearly down in the law, it could be open to misapplication in the future. So there you go. So you won't be Japanese anymore if you tax evade. No, so it's not about citizenship; it's about permanent residency. So I'm a permanent resident. I'm not Japanese. I'm not a Japanese citizen, but I can live here for the rest of my life, provided I meet certain criteria and conditions associated with being a permanent resident. Like I can't leave the country for too long without coming back, or else it'll expire. I can't murder anybody. I mean, it kind of cramps some people's styles, but I can live with it. But I can't vote. As a permanent resident, I just have a right to not have to go to immigration anymore, which is itself nice and why I applied for it. But if I want to be a citizen, if I want to vote, I've got to get citizenship. So there you go. Eric Bailey, fund taxes. Yeah, you really want to try funding taxes as much as possible. I know that's what you're saying. Try living in the donut hole. Are you talking about Zen? Is that Buddhist advice? I don't know. I don't understand, but thank you. You want to live off grid, says Crow. Well, this is it. Japan's got a huge cash economy, and they're trying to crack down on it lots of ways. They're talking about digitizing the currency. They're talking about having this My Number being linked to bank accounts and everything. And all this is intended to actually track and shut down, well, not shut down, but track and tax all economic activity. And when you think about, again, all sorts of activity, economic activity that happens in Japan just with cash, it's going to make those side jobs hard to do, for example. But that's the thing. Yeah. Cobra Senshi stayed at a temple for a week in 2016. Yeah, Tokyo is indeed cool. You have to pay taxes to hire an employee in Japan. Think about that. Go ahead. Try to justify that. I don't know. So you're in America or you're in Japan? I mean, you have to withhold income taxes. I don't know about the story about hiring. Yeah, Quint Racket, I know it sucks, but this is the price that we pay in order to have a better life. So what can we do? We make sacrifices. It's an immigrant equivalent. Exactly, it's an immigrant equivalent. I can't murder anybody. Yes, everybody. Well, suddenly rethinking their permanent residency plans. What am I supposed to do? Dan H, no, I disagree. I agree with a lot of what you say, Dan H. I respectfully disagree with that statement. Moving on. Apparently Canada, bastion of human rights, has recognized a 50-year-old and 30-year-old lesbian couple from Japan as political refugees. Well, good news if you want to move to Canada and you're LGBTQ. And now I think it's LGBTQX because they keep adding more and more letters. But yes, they maintain that discrimination they suffered in Japan as an LGBTQ couple, plus Japan's lack of marriage equality, qualified them for refugee status. And Canada agreed. So that's the thing that happened. Apparently, this is a thing that really happened. Of course, now I believe in something like half of Japan's prefectures, you can actually get married, same-sex marriage. So Japan does now have this, just not on a national level. But apparently for Canada, I mean, wow, I'm surprised. If that qualifies you for political refugee status, then yeah, if you want to go, that is there. I mean, Vancouver was lovely, kind of expensive, but that is an easy way into Canada. I don't know necessarily. I mean, it's arguable. There's a story further down where Japan was welcoming Mohammed bin Salman, the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, and planning to lecture them on women's rights, where of course Japan in the latest gender equality index ranked 131st in the world, and 125th in the world, and Saudi Arabia was 131st. They're only like 6 places apart. I mean, I suspect that Canada probably would recognize Saudi women as being subject to human rights restrictions and violations, not being able to drive and stuff like that. But Japan's not that far. They could probably cite that index and get free asylum in Canada as well. So I think you covered on lots of bases there. But you think about that, Japan only accepts like 20 refugees a year. I'm pretty sure that they don't, and I'm pretty sure they wouldn't accept LGBTQ, people from whatever state in America who can't marry. But there you go. So yeah, good on you, Canada. I'm not sure that Japan needs it, but there we go. I mean, if that makes it work. Back into the comments. if you make more money and hit a new tax bracket, you actually, of course, this is, yes. The donut hole. I've had people, yes, who hit tax brackets and lost money as a result. I actually, because I was earning US dollars, and you're taxed based on the previous year income when the US dollar was going down, not a problem I've had lately, but a problem I had when I was earning US dollars and the yen was 70 yen to the US dollar at one point. I had to pay tax based on my previous year's income in US dollars, which meant I was paying like 60% income tax. So yeah, I've lived in the donut hole or whatever you want to call it, and it was not fun. Eikaiwa and Saitama. Okay, in addition to online businesses. Oh, of course. Sorry, that's right. We've mentioned that. So yeah, that's right. All of that sucks. But there we go. We're talking about sacrifice. You cannot sacrifice or murder, even if there's a religious aspect to it. You can scream that at them in anger too. Indeed, don't recognize. Well, yes, it's a bit like feminists as well. I studied like feminist perspectives on law, and the first thing that you learn about feminist perspectives on law is that there are many, many, many perspectives, and they all vehemently disagree with each other, often in opposite directions about everything. So I'm not surprised that also happens. I mean, every human community, I mean, any community of any type. I mean, you could probably get Pokemon card collectors. They probably have big disagreements. I wouldn't want to go near those sorts of debates, of course. So there we go. Michael Gillen Pickett, I have no idea. I think once you get, I mean, the asylum status just lets you apply for a more fixed status, and Canada's pretty open. I'm pretty sure they would probably switch to being permanent residents in time anyway. I mean, you're right, I suppose. Japan, of course. I mean, Japan would send back people to war zones if they just had like a lull in the fighting. Let alone stuff like this. I have no idea. I wonder the same, Michael Peckett. Vincent Birch, a man from New Zealand. Bugger me, mate. It was hard to find you tonight. Just look at me on Twitter. I always post the link. Anyway, just back from NZ, that's New Zealand, and all the Maccas, that's McDonald's, seem to have stopped the Kiwi burger. No beetroot burgers. I mean, Macca's, seriously, you can do better than Macca's anyway. Just go to a fish and chip shop. Is it just me, or is this... Now, it starts with F and it ends with F. I imagine you're trying to hit D at the end of that, but that's a Kiwi classic. But it's by McDonald's. At the end of the day, it's a big, it's a big evil American corporation in a clown suit trying to sell you, pretend that they're local by sticking beetroot in a burger. And I loved it, by the way. I was a big fan of the Kiwi burger and the Mac Attack, the set with 2 Big Macs. I used to get that all the time. I suspect I've done permanent damage to my body as a result. But yeah, I mean, seriously, if I'm a proper beetroot, but when I go back to New Zealand, I don't look for Macca's. I look for a fish and chip shop, and I get the milkshake and in the big predetermined cup, and the hamburger from the fish and chip shop's always the best for me. But there we go. Sharky, just McDonald's, just not caring anymore. There you go. Good to see you. And Dan H, you think the Japanese government won't accept it due to LGBTQ fear that would cause population to fall faster due to social pressure? Well, that's kind of already the situation. I don't know that it would cause... Well, I've heard that argument raised, but I think we're moving beyond that. Most places are happy just to have anyone marry, frankly, so there we go. Ronald McDonald is the deadliest cloud in history. Thought you meant Ronald Reagan for a moment there, but yes, all the Ronalds doing bad things. What can we do? This is just awesome. In Portugal, this is a UFO, and there are the aliens. That's a meteor going through the sky, proper fireball. But that is, I love with all these cars having drive recorders that you get. It's like when you had the Chernobylsk, that huge skyburst in Russia a few years ago, and that was awesome because of that as well. So yeah. Oh yeah, I watched a good video. I should post more often when I watch good YouTube videos, but there was a good video I was just watching today when I was catching up. It's by this guy. He presents, it's like Patrick Boyle, this very Irish person who seems to be working in New York, and he's got this just monotone sort of but very interesting way of presenting. He's got an Irish accent, so you assume it's going to be funny, but it's not necessarily. But he did one satirical thing, and I thought, oh, is this whole thing like satirical and intelligent? But no, the rest of it's just intelligent. But he did a really, really thorough coverage of what's been happening with the yen, including the Bank of Japan's intervention and what's going on with inflation and real wages, and how the Japanese government's dealing with this and how foreign commentators have got it right and wrong. It's a really, really great video. If you're interested in the Japanese currency, this video, Japan spent $60 billion defending the yen, by Patrick Boyle on YouTube. Highly recommend it. Go check it out. It's at 25 minutes, but it's a good channel. It's actually really interesting. So yes, I do recommend that. Crow is ready to contribute towards the Japanese declining birth rate. You volunteer. Yeah, sounds like a good idea. I know everybody's thinking about the making part, but yeah, but there's a little bit more to it, including the problems that we are going to be talking about soon about joint custody and all that sort of stuff. So there we go. Ben Duncan, worse than John Wayne Gacy. Isn't he like a murderer or something? How did that come up? It's out of context for me. But yeah, good to see you, Ben Duncan. Good to see you in the chat. Long time no see. All of that. Back into the comments. Yeah, I was just going through European Space Agency photos, and they took this picture, and I'm like, I know that photo. Vincent Birch, you recognize this? That is the Waitemata Harbor. That is Coromandel, and over here, where my mouse is Papakura, which is where I was born. It used to be sort of an outer suburb. It's kind of now connected to Greater Auckland. But yeah, it used to be kind of an isolated town. And it was like 20, 30,000 people. Used to be an army camp. Used to be an SAS base, actually. My dad was in the SAS when I was born there. But it's now mostly a Samoan and Pacific Island neighborhood on the outskirts of Auckland. It's very nice. It's a nice photo. And yeah, I recognize it right away. So there we go. Thank you, European Space Agency. By the way, another good channel to watch if you're interested in living in Japan, and particularly on saving and retiring in Japan. Retire Japan. He's got just a great channel with lots of investment advice. How to use a NISA, which I've watched it, but I don't do it. I should do it. I'm an idiot. But Retire Japan just hit 5,000 subscribers, I understand, just after that. So congrats to that. Ben, I believe it's Ben. I probably got that wrong. But a good YouTube channel, so another good channel to go and check out. Other legal news, I mentioned 2 important laws this work. The first was the expanding immigration and allowing people to deport permanent residents who don't pay their taxes. The other is that Japan passed an amendment to the Civil Code. For the first time in 80 years, have amended the Civil Code with aspects of family law, where basically joint custody in cases of divorce becomes possible for the first time, which is kind of crazy. But that it's taken this long. I've talked about this at length in the past, when a lot of people celebrated that Japan was signing on to the International Convention, the Hague Convention on Parental Aspects of Child Abduction, basically when in custody disputes overseas, a Japanese mother or father grabs the kid and flies back to Japan and effectively wins just by whoever kidnaps the kid first wins. This is what this convention was supposed to address. Japan, under a lot of pressure, signed the convention saying that they would resolve family law disputes according to this convention. The problem being that Japan doesn't have a family law system, for one, so there was no enforcement mechanism, even though they signed up to the convention. And two, while this might help people where there is a custody order overseas or a kid is kidnapped to Japan, it's still SOL if you are divorced in Japan. Because there's no joint custody in Japan in the first place. Without an enforcement mechanism or a concept of joint custody, even signing the Hague Convention, it doesn't solve the problem of a lot of alienated parents not being able to see their kids after divorce. This is a small step in that direction, where now the concept of joint custody exists. However, Japan still doesn't have a family law court or proper enforcement system for this. So Japan still has a lot of work to do. Some parents brought a lawsuit a couple of years ago saying that Japan not having an enforceable, family law system to begin with in Japan was a violation of the rights of citizens under the Constitution, which the Supreme Court of Japan said, no, it doesn't amount to a violation of the Constitution, but the government really should do something. So they sent the signal back to the government, and they've kind of started to address it with this. But this is passing a law about rights. It's not spending money. But they've really got to spend money on setting up a proper system, and it's a complicated, messy, horrible system of law. That I deliberately didn't take. Most murders in courts happen in family court. They don't happen in criminal court. Everybody having their worst day. But it's very, very, very important. And, it's one of those things. I didn't study family law, but I really respected people who do. So there you go. Eric Bailey, did you get put in YouTube timeout again? Did you? Not that I noticed, but yeah, too clear a picture. It's a good picture indeed. That's right. Ben is great. Ben is indeed great. Vincent Birch, Taranaki, a Naki man. Taranaki still serves up anisealed wheels. Okay, is that like licorice or something like that? That made my weekend so happy. Coupled with RJ's licorice. We used to have Black Knight in my house. It was the best flavor bomb ever. What do you and your kids like to devour when in Aotearoa? Tell you the truth, it's been a while. I like picnic bars. I would always, I like jet planes when I was a kid. Nothing too fancy. When I go out, I mean pavlova. I look for pavlova, roast lamb, just the basics. Um, but yeah, I mean most of the stuff as well you can get in Australia. I go back now and I used to like peanut slab, but now you go to the supermarket, everything's like Whitaker's, which is a bit freaky. It was like a good single thing, chocolate fish, all of that sort of stuff. But there you go. Have not been back to Aotearoa for a while though. I was hoping to go. Aotearoa is New Zealand, by the way. It's a bilingual country. It's New Zealand and Maryland of the long white cloud. And I'm hoping I'll get back there at Christmas this year, but we'll see what happens. I should actually start planning for that. But no, I just like being there. You know, it's just nice to be there. Well, I must say, a beetroot burger and a milkshake, also a good thing in New Zealand. Looks like a mandate towards a growing problem, says Crow. Sounds like a good source of mental wellness and beneficial rather than a divorce patch-up. Well, look, baby steps. Everything is progress. This is positive progress. It made the BBC that, you know, just the fact that Japan didn't have this to begin with is a big problem, but there we go. Japan under pressure, indeed, like David Bowie. Yeah, aniseed flavored grape juice. That was, yeah, French people drink alcoholic aniseed juice. It's basically like licorice as an alcoholic drink. I'm not sure I'd go for that, but I had a lot of licorice when I was a kid. My dad was really into it. Licorice straps. Michael Peckett, something I never understood about Japan. Family and joint custody. Couldn't such cases of kidnapping be prosecuted as cases of assault? Japanese police do not treat abduction by parents as abduction. And because Japan recognizes sole custody and it doesn't recognize overseas custody orders, or at least it didn't until the current Hague Convention thing. There were cases when parents came back to Japan, when overseas parents came to Japan and tried to file cases with police, or even tried to take their kids back themselves, and the overseas parent was the one who was arrested. So all of that went very badly. Kind of came to a head when Ai Fukuhara, the table tennis player, recently in a divorce custody dispute with her Taiwanese husband, who's fluent in Japanese and lived in Japan, when she abducted the child, actually, I think, was facing prosecution for that and kind of admitted. So things have progressed a little bit, but yeah, the parental alienation syndrome is not only a thing, it's the norm. It's actually what's prescribed by law in Japan because it only recognizes sole custody. It's based on a belief that it's confusing to a kid to have access to both parents, which I think is not the global, and even in Japan, it's not the accepted norm anymore, but it's the logic in the law and still probably in the culture as well. But yeah, Crow can't imagine how much trauma Japanese children go through since it looks like this law is a huge wrench in the system. It's a big change indeed. So yeah, that's right. Ban made. Anyway, continuing on. Ishin no Kai, the Osaka First Party, again confused as to what it wants to be. So somebody in the party said that, hey, we're happy joining the LDP and joining the government because we want power and all that money. And someone else said, no, that would be betraying everything that we believe in because we're an opposition party. So they're not quite sure what they want to do, but what else is new? MBS coming to Japan. Wow, doesn't Kishida look like a human rights respecting, reasonable person in that photo? Apparently taking the opportunity, telling that they should respect human rights, including arbitrary travel bans on women's rights defenders. So yeah, Japan lecturing, of course, and rightly so. Saudi Arabia improving, but still got a lot more of improving to go. But just a reminder, as I said, Japan, nation 125 of the index, of the Gender Equality Index, welcomes nation 131. Japan's got a lot to do as well. So there you go. And other people talking about how Japan has indeed been dragged into changing its custody laws because, and this was during the Olympics. There was that French guy who was doing a hunger strike protesting at the lack of joint custody law again because he had not been able to see his kids since being divorced years and years ago. And President Macron actually intervened to speak up for him and to go talk to the guy when he was doing that. So yeah, good old-fashioned shame seems to work here when nothing else does. Yeah, you could say, you could argue Michael Peckett. I agree. It could be seen as assault. It could be seen as domestic violence, of course. There again, I mean, just simply taking the kid, it's not clear that whether the kid consents again. But inherently, small children can't necessarily give consent as part of the idea legally. as well as Japan, of course, recognizes, I think, it's not like other countries. I think there is a degree of discipline, physical discipline that's allowed, although, of course, in Japan, there's a lot of murder cases start out this way. Whether, so there's a threshold, but I think it'd be, I agree with you. It can be argued that the act of taking a child in a custody dispute could be treated as assault, but it'll be very, very unlikely. Police treat this as domestic matters, just like in the 1960s. It's a domestic, we don't want to know about it. It's pretty much how Japan still works. And I don't know that they're equipped to handle it differently. So there we go. So yes, indeed. What are my thoughts on Big Audio Dynamite? They're unbelievable. Was that them? No. Was that Big Audio Dynamite? Now I'm gonna look at it. That I said out loud. I think that was their song. Okay. Lead vocalist of The Clash. Come on. It wasn't unbelievable. Okay, I'm getting mixed up now. So what were the number one songs? Should I Stay or Should I Go? That was from The Clash. Okay, so they had the vocalist from The Clash. But what were their songs? I recognize the name. Oh, this is a major squirrel. Don't do this to me. Discography. Oh, I couldn't tell. You're going to have to give me some songs. Yeah, nostalgic. Anyway, early 90s. I remember I was at university and they were playing, but there we go. It's a squirrel. I recognize it now. That is a squirrel. Why have your squirrels changed? Or maybe it was in YouTube. Maybe it's in the YouTube thing that they show up. On the YouTube, they show up as full squirrels. Here in StreamYard, they show up as small squirrels. What can we do? Gaijin Mummy, as usual, doing God's work, providing accurate and detailed translations of terms as to why your train is delayed, and most of them involve massacring and murdering and maiming. So there you go. Oh yeah, all these the Open AI and the Google AI announcements this week. So Open AI first, it looked better. Honestly, I think that they did upstage all the Google announcements. I've been playing around with GPT-4 or ChatGPT 4o Omni, and it doesn't talk yet. It doesn't have the desktop app for desktop for Windows yet. I tried the mobile app, so you can't yet do the things that they showed in the demos, although the demos looked very cool. That said, it is multimodal and you can feed it videos, and it'll even accept YouTube video URLs. So I did this. I gave it the last episode of Tokyo Tonight, and the demos say, hey, give it a video and ask it to summarize it for you. And I'm like, great. Find all the topics in my video, time code it, so I've got chapters, so I can put that in my video description so that people can skip through to the parts that they want to see, and it makes the video better for SEO when all the content that's in it is there. So summarize the video, and I don't know whether it's me or if it's ChatGPT, but it wasn't doing a very good job. So I actually did put time codes because I ended up doing it all manually when I was testing it out and trying to get it to work. So I wasn't really as impressed with ChatGPT as the demo. Although that said, I'm looking forward to coding with it. It's getting even faster. But what I'm really looking forward to with ChatGPT is GPT-5. It's been like 2 years since they've updated like GPT-4. They've done little increments, like this is an incremental change. But GPT-5, I'm hoping is going to be this sort of huge change where it's really going to be able to, do stuff. And you know what? OpenAI, I understand if it doesn't understand my video. So, but what I would expect is that Google, you've got the whole of YouTube, you own the whole of YouTube, you've got all this data to be able to train all your stuff on. And for all the services, they said in Gmail, they're going to summarize your inbox and help you draft emails and stuff like that. Dude, YouTube, Google, what about YouTube? There was no announcements of AI integration into YouTube. And, for the idea of helping me manage my subscriptions, or the idea of recommending channels and videos better, or letting me do more intelligent searches, summarizing videos, summarizing my own videos, and making my own videos, basically putting my content in here, just summarizing what was in it at the end of it and putting that in the video description and stuff like that to help with discoverability and so on, helping with SEO. There's so much that with AI you could do to enhance and make YouTube work better, both for watchers and for creators. And they didn't, I don't know, they haven't cracked it yet. And you know what? That's probably good news that they haven't cracked AI with YouTube, because there's so much data, not necessarily good data. It's a bit like Reddit or Twitter, I suppose. You want to really train it on people like me, but or other people that you see on YouTube. But if the best AIs at the moment can't yet properly, interpret what's going on in YouTube videos, and they can get the AI where it's able to sort of do that, then you've got this huge, massive corpus of additional data through which you can actually improve and get more natural and so on as well. So a lot to look forward to, but I didn't really find the announcements for Google that impressive. I'm really still most impressed by ChatGPT, but I am waiting both for the apps that they demonstrated to actually be fully available, and GPT-5. Hurry up! So yeah, that is the thing. Big Audio Dynamite. Some people like that. Yeah, you've been knee deep in that, says Crow. I've been knee deep in that also. I'm using Claude 3 most of the time actually for work reasons. Claude 3 respects your privacy, which OpenAI doesn't, but OpenAI is just awesome. It's just great to use. And when it comes to coding and stuff like that, I really do it. The analyzing power really upped with it. Yeah, it's definitely, I've heard that the coding is really accelerated, and I have used it lately to make some new programs, and it is pretty awesome. And the speed is amazing. So it's always getting better, but it's not 100% reliable yet, but it's getting there. And Ben Duncan uses ChatGPT almost every day. Yeah, it's pretty awesome. I did feed it my health checkup information. I did my health checkup. I got my data back. And again, I fed it a PDF of that and said, hey, read my results, translate them to me, tell me what to do. And it read them wrong. It mistranslated some stuff. So still, frustratingly, not quite all the way there. But yeah. Training and squirrels stat. That's right. I mean, imagine, I love to have like a ChatGPT sort of co-pilot or whatever. That could also help with these, but I don't know. I'm sure it's all coming. Dan H, geez, you went straight there. I think joint custody would be good. I wouldn't want either side necessarily. I'd be happy to have custody, and I'm sure that she would too. He's getting, it's only like 3 more years before he's like an adult anyway. At least if you take 18, he's turning 15 this year. So again, you don't like to think ahead to that sort of thing, but again, joint custody kind of solves the whole thing in the first place, right? You can figure out, take turns, do whatever, which you don't get to do at the moment. At the moment, you're divorcing your kid as well as the spouse. So I don't know. The good news about the new law means, we can go plan that. It's not really how it works. Too much training data with YT. It's possible, but there again, they're running out of training data at the moment with regular text-based web. It's already all been sort of hoovered up. So you've got that. And it should be a major advantage for Google when they do that. So there we go. Crow uses it for mental health and analyze thoughts and processes. I found it great as a conversation partner for things like that. Michael Pickett's found yet to find a use for it. Wow, I found lots of uses for it. But yeah, it does help with drafting, no question. Salary and debts, indeed, your next salary health checkup to ChatGPT, and it said he's going to die. Wow, sorry to hear that. You know what? It kind of told me the same thing, although it was a mistranslation. But yeah, I've had that. And when I was given my cancer diagnosis that I fed it to it, it was like, yeah, you'll be fine. So it's not really ready to be a doctor yet, although I am hoping that's what it will become one day, at least with a couple more GPTs. But what can we do? Google is one of the main large equity holders of Claude 3, so you don't think privacy technically is that much better than OpenAI. It is better because the models, at least as they're deployed on Google and on Amazon, are designed that they're a fixed in-place model. They don't capture the inputs and run them back through, constantly iterating the model like OpenAI does. So architecturally, the way that they are set up. I don't know about the Claude side itself, but Claude, most of the ways that you can use Claude, it doesn't look at your prompts, which means you can use it for work. Most companies don't let you use OpenAI because OpenAI can actually, if humans come in and read any of the prompts that you put into it, if you put your company financial plans and all that sort of stuff into OpenAI, into ChatGPT, people at ChatGPT can use it, and it might even inadvertently come out as in a response to another, and this has happened in cases of this where people have put in plans and sort of confidential plans, and it's come out in responses to other users. Won't happen if the model is deployed in a non-live iterating manner, which Claude 3 is in a lot of places. So there you go. But you saw that beef between Google and OpenAI. Yeah, it was a bit funny, but what can you do? Let me get that GPT of yours. I want to. Oh, wait, Ben has one? Sounds like a lot of fun indeed. Yeah. Hey, Wingstar, good to see you. Glad that you can make it. Mate, will Razer turn around the AVs? Well, given how much it looks like a difference it made, he's talking about the new New Zealand rugby coach. By the way, Sam Kane, he's staying in Japan long term and retiring from All Blacks rugby. So big vote of confidence for Japanese rugby, which has been great. The semi-finals in the Japanese rugby tournament have been great. Ask you about the New Zealand rugby coach. Will he turn around the All Blacks? I mean, the All Blacks are doing okay, but look, when you look at how far the Crusaders, the Canterbury rugby team that the new coach was coaching until last year, that he retired from the Crusaders in order to coach the national team, and without that coach, you look at what happened to the Crusaders. I mean, they lost a lot of their players, including their quarterback equivalent, their first five, who's come to Japan. Richie Monga was actually in the winning semi-final team today. So yeah, they've lost a lot of players, but yeah, it looks like he made a big difference to the Crusaders. They couldn't lose when he was the coach, and he left, and they can't win a game. So I'm hoping it's a similar. If the All Blacks get the same sort of boost that it appears the Crusaders were getting from him. I mean, I don't like the Crusaders. I think they played a little bit better under him. They play boring rugby, if you ask me. I'm an Auckland fan, of course. Check it out. Blues. But Crusaders play the most boring rugby in New Zealand, although they have a lot of exciting players. They're capable of good rugby, but I think under Razor they played better rugby. So yeah, I'm an optimist. So there you go. We have company policy of only be using ChatGPT at Lego. Oh, there we go. Only being able to use ChatGPT. That's only using it. That's an interesting one. A lot of companies ban ChatGPT specifically, but it is the best one. I mean, if I had a little company, I wouldn't care. I mean, yeah, you might have rules about putting confidential information in, but it's a great tool. Anyway, 3 minutes left. Oh, speak of the devil. Sam Cane, All Black captain, is retiring from the All Blacks, retiring from the New Zealand rugby team to play for Suntory Times, making it good times with Japanese rugby. He was injured for most of the season, and we all thought he was just going to go back to New Zealand and go back to being captain of the national team, but no, he liked it in Japan. And a lot of other New Zealand players as well have been talking a lot about that. Apparently, Karage, I didn't know that Karage had an association, but apparently they do, and a lot of the Karage restaurants have been going out of business, to which the Karage Association says shops that take their business seriously are increasing their sales. So no real sense of trying to help people out, but there you go. 68,000 people elderly die alone in Japan annually, and that number is going to go up, and that is sad. I am one of these optimists that at least maybe through the internet and through other possibilities, that the ability to get services and so on to help elderly be social with one another. Maybe it's a generational thing as well, maybe with generations X myself, but at least from us onwards, when we're more comfortable with meeting people and so on and making social contacts online, maybe that'll help with this sort of thing. Maybe ChatGPT will solve it. I don't know. In fact, actually, it's an excellent thing for ChatGPT, right? To notify when someone's having a medical problem or, is stuck or has passed away or whatever. But it's pretty sad at the moment, not just in Japan, lots of countries, but of course, Japan is going to happen in a big way. And also a lot of business opportunities around this as well, I suppose. But yeah, sign of the times indeed. Charging, they're about to start charging and reserving hiking for Mount Fuji. Mount Fuji's been overcrowded for a long time, so I'm hoping there are two big parks in Tokyo, Shinjuku-gyoen and Yoyogi Park. Shinjuku-gyoen, you pay like $1 to go into, but the result is that it's all the grass is beautiful and lush, and you can run around everywhere and throw a ball, and it's lovely. Whereas Yoyogi Park is the free park, and all the grass is trampled. It's held together by sort of green plastic. But it's kind of a barren wasteland with rubbish and too many people and dirt, Shinjuku-gyoen is much better just because so many people refuse to pay $1 to go into a park. And I hope that's what happens with Mount Fuji. Mount Fuji is, it's a serious mountain, by the way. Don't ever go there lightly, but it is overcrowded. Maybe the reservation system will make people, how many people who show up, especially foreigners, who show up not realizing that you have to reserve the huts on the way up, and piling in without a reservation in the middle of the night, freezing to death without enough clothes and stuff like that. So hopefully this will address that and make the experience of climbing Mount Fuji, which sucks, by the way, but hopefully it'll make that better. I'm going to power through to the end. We're coming up on an hour, activists trying to stop the restart of a nuclear reactor. Me, climate change, that's carbon-free energy. It's a climate emergency. Turn them back on. They've spent 10 years implementing safety measures. I know no one wants to have in their backyard a nuclear power plant, but until we have better carbon-free power generation, we need all the nuclear power on. We've been burning coal this whole time to make up for them, and that's been accelerating climate change, and look at what's happening. So turn them all back on, I say. 80,000 foreigners working at convenience stores. That's a huge population of foreigners working at convenience stores. In Tokyo, I don't think it's possible to go to a convenience store without there being a foreign staff member there. So there you go. A vending machine that sells scents. I don't know that I've ever smelled anything at Shinjuku Station other than Shinjuku Station. So that's a big improvement. That's the joint custody thing. The Japanese an undersecretary at the UN. So I think our number 2 at the UN is now the first Japanese woman in that role. And she sort of pointed out that if you're a woman and you got motivated for a career, you should get the hell out of Japan. And it still seems like good advice. Some people say, well, Japan's improved, and it has improved, but yeah, you should still probably get out of Japan. Not many people get to that level of seniority within Japan, but they do it in international institutions. So there you go. Fines coming now. They're going to pass a law to allow actual penalties to be imposed on cyclists that are breaking laws. There is the tax thing. Japan is now setting up a special heat stroke alert system and are going to actually require the creation of heat stroke relief facilities, particularly around government buildings and schools and stuff like that, which you need because, we've needed them for years. It's kind of a Black Mirror kind of extrapolations. I've just been watching the series on Apple. And although it's kind of crap, it's kind of the age that we are going into that. Yeah, absolutely. You've already needed it for a long time. Me going to America, it was pretty good. I didn't even talk about America that much, but yeah, it was really nice. It's the best time of year. It's just started getting warm and sunny in Seattle. I didn't really get to do anything. It was work the whole time, and I was in Monday, out Thursday, so it was too short. I should have extended, but and I'll hopefully get back to the USA for another trip. And I really want to travel around in America more. But yeah, it was good to go there. That's where I got the iPad from because it's cheaper. It seemed to be cheaper if I got in America. Sick and tired of these MFing snakes on this MFing train. There's a little snake on a train there. That was a thing. Some people had trouble telling the difference between these two kanji. The hint is that the cross and the 0 also count as kanji in these expressions. They refer to shapes of legs, bow-legged or straight-legged. So people were going crazy trying to find the difference between the kanji when the difference was over here. Spoiler alert. That's the show. Those are the topics. It's 1 hour, 1 minute. Let's go through the final comments, and then I'm going to set up for the after party. We've got, yes, indeed, good to have to debate ChatGPT. Your company has its own version of ChatGPT. That's pretty cool. Oh, so they've got a custom version. If they use Azure, I think you can get a custom version that doesn't do that. So yeah, I think you can arrange for that. Digital community for the elderly, but they might not be able to get out of the homes and connect. Yeah, I think that's a good idea. That's what I'm thinking as well. The rules about plagiarism still seem to apply. So if one uses ChatGPT, you have to make sure you're not with anything. You have to make sure that you're properly citing and so on. And this is a feature of Bing. At least it gives the citations of where the data came from and so on. I think the rules about citing and everything are still just the same, but indeed that is a concern. Smart home emergency services. Yeah, well, they notice. I agree. It is good and futuristic. Although the way that smart homes work right now, they're a long way from that. But that's really what it should be. Checking up on you when you're sick. I mean, I really think that this is where we're going. That's how we power all those electric cars. So it's kind of, yeah. I mean, Japan is improving. It's up to like, I think 20% now renewable energy, which is a lot more than it used to be, but burning coal, that's right. Japan doesn't have a lot of electric cars, though, in its defense. It still is burning gasoline for that. Thomas Morris. By the way, I think I saw Thomas Morris back up here, and I didn't highlight your comment, but great to see you in the chat there, Thomas Morris. Long time no see. Answer to Japan declining birth rate. Otani to sleep with 10,000 women if the Dodgers. That's definitely a solution. So glad that I didn't get another health scare from being in the US. Yeah, me too. After party link. Thanks, Aaron. Posted the link. I'm going to go set that up in just a moment. Thumbs up for thumbs up. Do remember to give it thumbs up, please. I've got 19 likes, 23 concurrent viewers. 4 of you have not liked, so please remember to go and like. I do appreciate it. Ben's got to go to bed. Glad that you caught some of the show. I'm glad that you caught some of the show too. Time for a thumbs up indeed. Everybody give a thumbs up. Give as many thumbs up as you possibly can. All of that. As a disabled person, you hate the idea of AI robotics being used for the care of the elderly. Sorry, but I want human connection. I know, but I know that that's the ideal. But for people who are alone, and faced with only having a care worker coming by once a month or something like that, I think it's an improvement and it can actually, enhance. But there again, I mean, if you don't want it, you don't want it. That's fine as well. I think that's why this is happening and why there are so many people dying on their own at the moment. So it's a tough issue, but it's something that if it can help, it can help. But we'll see. Anyway, thank you for keeping me company, everybody. We are 1 hour, 3 minutes. So I always want to get this done under an hour, but, we never quite get there. It's good. I'm going to go and set up all the new kit I'm sure there will be lots of fun technical issues, but I also went down, yeah, well, I'll go talk about that in a moment. So I'll see you in the after party. Come join me. You can request tracks. I'm going to play some music. It should be a lot of fun. Have a good week, everybody. Boom. Remember to like and peace. Just on peace like that. See you later. I'm going to ending stream. See you in a bit. Boom.